I want to show you something. Look at these symbols. A fish beneath a roof. A stick figure without a head. Something that looks like a garden rake. A jar with lines coming out of it. A circle with a cross inside. Take a moment. Really look at them. What do you think they mean? You cannot tell me. I know that. And that is not a failure of your intelligence or your education. The most brilliant minds in human history have stared at these exact symbols for over 100 years. Linguists who decoded ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Mathematicians who cracked wartime military codes. Archaeologists who spent entire careers, entire lifetimes searching for the key. None of them could tell you either. These symbols belong to a writing system that has defeated every single human being who has ever attempted to decode it. Not most attempts. Every attempt. And I want to tell you exactly why that matters. Because it is not just an academic puzzle sitting in a university somewhere. This writing system belongs to a civilization of 5 million people who built some of the most sophisticated cities in the ancient world. They used these symbols to communicate something important enough to carve onto thousands of objects and carry across an entire continent. We have been holding their message for 4,000 years, and we cannot read a single word. My name is not important. What is important is this. Today, we are going to investigate one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the entire history of human civilization. We are going to look at the evidence honestly. Not the romanticized version, not the politically convenient version, but the real version. We are going to meet the scientists who dedicated their lives to this puzzle and what happened to some of them. And we are going to sit with something genuinely uncomfortable. The possibility that this mystery may never be solved. And why that silence, that permanent, ancient silence, might be telling us something more important than any decoded text ever could. Let me first tell you exactly what we are dealing with. The Indus Valley Civilization existed between approximately 3,300 and 1300 BCE, with its urban peak between 2,600 and 1900 BCE. At its height, it was home to 5 million people spread across 1.25 million square kilometers of what is today Pakistan, northwestern India, and Afghanistan. The largest civilization on Earth at its time. And these people wrote things down. They carved their symbols onto small stone seals, most of them about the size of a postage stamp. They pressed these seals into clay to make official-looking impressions. They scratched the symbols onto pottery. They inscribed them onto copper tablets. They used them consistently across their entire civilization, from the cities of Punjab to the port towns of the Gujarat coast, for 700 years. By 1992, approximately 4,000 inscribed objects had been discovered and catalogued. By 2025, that number has grown to approximately 5,000. The script has been identified on objects found as far away as Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, carried there by ancient trade networks connecting the Indus Valley to the wider ancient world. The symbols themselves number between 400 and 600 distinct signs depending on how you classify variants. Some appear frequently. Some appear only once. Some seem to function as beginnings of inscriptions. Some seem to function as endings. The script appears to read from right to left in the majority of cases, though some inscriptions seem to run in other directions, which is itself part of what makes decoding so difficult. Most inscriptions are extremely short. The average sequence contains only 4 or 5 symbols. The longest known inscription in the entire corpus contains 34 symbols. For comparison, ancient Egyptian texts give us approximately 5 million words to work with. The Indus script gives us an average of 4 symbols at a time. You cannot decode a language from 4 symbols at a time. It is like being handed a box of puzzle pieces and being told that most of the pieces are missing, none of them have any color, and you have no idea what the completed picture is supposed to look like. There is another problem. And this one is possibly the most important obstacle of all. In 1799, a French soldier in Napoleon's army digging fortifications near the Egyptian town of Rosetta pulled a dark granodiorite stone from the earth. On its surface was a royal decree written in 3 scripts, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, Demotic Egyptian, and ancient Greek. The same message. 3 languages, 1 stone. That single object, the Rosetta Stone, is why we can read ancient Egyptian today. It gave scholars a known language to work backward from. Greek was already understood, which meant the Egyptian could be decoded by comparison. No Rosetta Stone has ever been found for the Indus script. Not one bilingual inscription. Not one object with the Indus symbols written alongside a known language. Not one king's name that appears in both the Indus script and in a Mesopotamian or Persian text, where we can verify it. Every other major ancient writing system that has been decoded had something like a Rosetta Stone. Sumerian cuneiform was decoded partly because the Persians wrote their royal inscriptions in multiple languages, including Old Persian and Babylonian. Linear B. The ancient Mycenaean Greek script was decoded when Michael Ventris in 1952 identified that certain signs kept appearing at the beginnings of clay tablet lists, suggesting they were place names and worked outward from there. The Indus script has given us nothing equivalent. No names, no place names, no royal decrees, no bilingual bridge. Just 4 or 5 symbols at a time carved on stone smaller than your palm, repeating across 5,000 years of silence. Now I want to tell you about the people who spent their lives trying to break this silence. Because this is not just an intellectual puzzle. This is a human story. Asko Parpola is a Finnish Indologist who has spent over 50 years working on the Indus script. He began in the 1960s. He is now in his 80s. He has published papers, books, and decades of careful comparative analysis arguing that the script encodes an early form of Proto-Dravidian, the ancestor of the Dravidian languages spoken today across South India and parts of Pakistan. His life's work has not cracked the code. Then there is Steve Farmer. In interviews, he speaks about the script the way other people speak about someone they love and cannot quite reach. With patience, with frustration, with a refusal to give up that seems to go beyond professional dedication into something more personal. Then there is Steve Farmer, an American scholar who in 2004 published a paper with 2 colleagues that stunned the academic world. Not because he decoded the script, but because he argued the script might not be a language at all. His theory was that the Indus symbols are a collection of non-linguistic signs, religious, political, or social symbols, like modern traffic signs or heraldic emblems, rather than a written language in the conventional sense. The response from the academic community was not polite disagreement. Steve Farmer received death threats, for publishing a theory about ancient symbols, which tells you something important about what is really at stake in this debate. Because the Indus script is not just an archaeological puzzle. It sits at the center of some of the most contested questions in South Asian identity, politics, and history. Who were these people? What language did they speak? Are they the ancestors of modern Hindus, modern Pakistanis, modern Dravidian peoples of South India? The answer that the script might reveal, or the answer that a particular decipherment might seem to support, carries enormous political weight in a region where identity questions have consequences. The symbols on a tiny stone seal have become a battlefield. Rajesh Rao is a computational neuroscientist at the University of Washington who in 2009 published research in Science magazine applying information theory to the Indus script. He and his team measured the conditional entropy of the script, essentially the statistical predictability of one symbol following another, and found that it falls within the range expected of a genuine linguistic system rather than a random or purely symbolic one. His research suggested the script is likely a real language. Then another researcher named Richard Sproat published a detailed counter-argument showing that applying the same methodology to known non-linguistic symbol systems, like the symbols used in Mesopotamia for deities, produced similar results. The 2 teams published rebuttals of each other's rebuttals across multiple journals across multiple years. They have still not resolved it. And then in January 2025, something happened that made this ancient mystery feel suddenly, urgently relevant to the entire world. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, a state in southern India, announced a $1 million prize for anyone who can successfully decode the Indus Valley script. $1 million for a translation. The announcement came alongside a new study by researchers K. Rajan and R. Sivananthan, who had spent years analyzing over 14,000 pottery fragments from Tamil Nadu and found that 60% of the symbols on these ancient Tamil pots matched symbols found in the Indus script. 60%. That is not a coincidence. That is a connection. What it means, whether it means the Indus Valley people migrated to South India and brought their script with them, or whether it means the 2 traditions shared a common ancestor, or whether it means something else entirely, is exactly what the prize is designed to find out. The prize announcement triggered a global scramble. Computer scientists who had never studied archaeology pulled out laptops. Linguists who had spent careers on other languages pivoted to the Indus corpus. Amateur researchers from a dozen countries submitted theories to academic journals. The prize has not been claimed. As of today, after a century of professional scholarship, after 50 years of Askoparpala's careful comparative work, after Rajesh Rao's computational analysis, after AI systems trained on ancient language patterns were applied to the corpus, not one single proposed decipherment has achieved anything close to universal acceptance in the academic community. More than 100 mutually exclusive decipherment attempts have been published since the 1920s. 100 attempts. All of them claiming to have the answer. All of them wrong, or at least unverifiable. Because without a bilingual artifact, without a Rosetta Stone, how would you even know if you were right? The script itself gives you no way to check your work, so what do we actually know? What can the symbols tell us even without full decipherment?